నేను ఆఫీస్ లో ప్రిన్సిపల్ కలవడానికి వెళ్తే ఆర్యత్ మలయాళీ అన్నారు. నో సార్ అబ్సల్యూట్లీ నాట్, ఐ హావ్ నాట్ ఈవెన్ విజిటెడ్ ద ప్లేస్ సో ఫార్ అని చెప్పాను. నేను కేరళ వెళ్ళలేదన్నా. నో మస్ట్ హావ్ బీన్ అంటాడు ఆయన. సరే కాదండి బాబు, అలాంటి చాలా ప్రమాదాలు వస్తే మా వంశం అంతా గొడవ అయిపోతుంది అంటే ఆయన లేదండి, మీ తాతలో ఎవరో కూడా అక్కడ ఉండుంటారు అంతే, సంథింగ్ ఏదో ఉంది మీకు అంత మీ వాయిస్ లోను. తర్వాత యువర్ వాయిస్ సౌండ్స్ లైక్ మలయాళీ అంటాడు ఆయన కొంచెం.
అవును సార్, యూ హ్యావ్ వండర్ఫుల్ వాయిస్ యాక్చువల్లీ, బట్ ఆంధ్ర పీపుల్ ఎంటీఐ డిఫరెంట్ గా ఉంటుంది మీ ఎంటీఐ కన్నా అక్కడక్కడ. బట్ యువర్ ఫ్లూయెన్సీ ఇన్ ద లాంగ్వేజ్ ఇస్ ఎక్సలెంట్ సార్.
నేను ఇక్కడ నాకు ప్యాషన్ నేర్చుకున్నాను కిరణ్ నేను
సార్.
ఎందుకంటే ఒక కాన్వెంట్ లో చేరినప్పుడు మొట్టమొదటి అక్కడ ఆంగ్లో ఇండియన్స్, తమిళియన్స్, కేరళస్ అందరూ ఉండేవారు అనమాట.
సార్ సార్
తెలుగు వాళ్ళు ఉండేవారు. తెలుగు వాళ్ళని కూర్చుని వాళ్ళు క్లాస్ లో పాఠాలు చెప్పి రాగానే అమ్మయ్యా హాయిగా ఉంది, చంపేస్తారు ప్రిన్సిపల్ ఇంగ్లీష్ లో మాట్లాడి అనుకునేవాళ్ళు. నేనేం చేసినా అలా కాదు, నాకు ఇంగ్లీష్ వీళ్ళతోనే స్నేహం తగ్గించి వాళ్ళతో మాట్లాడుతుండేవాళ్ళు అనమాట. ఇట్స్ దేర్ ఐ గోట్ ద స్పీకింగ్ టంగ్ అలవాటైంది నాకు. చాలా మంది 65 6300 346 501.
Sir, can I repeat this? 6300 346 501.
Right, Chandrasekhar.
Yes sir. We'll talk about settled, sir. You have got settled in Vijayawada, sir?
Almost అనుకోవచ్చంటే we don't own a house here. I'm ఇక్కడ గుడివాడలో చదివాను నేను, ఏఎన్ఆర్ కాలేజీలో. విజయవాడ దగ్గర గుడివాడ ఊరు దగ్గర నేషనల్ కాలేజ్ అనమాట.
అవును, గుడివాడ తెలుసు సార్ నాకు.
I was a student of that college.
Oh, great.
నేను మొన్న స్పీచ్ లో మొట్టమొదటి
Kiran sir, Chandrasekhar sir.
Sir, we were on our own waves actually.
No. Our presenter is, waiting for, on the dice. I think.
Oh, sorry for the inconvenience caused to you.
No, not at all, sir. See, sir.
No, as she takes time. Sir, as she takes time, we are waiting. No, right, we are ready.
Ifomo madam from Nigeria.
Sure.
I think she is waiting for giving her lecture, sir.
Yes, we are ready.
Yes, sir. Absolutely ready, sir. Absolutely ready. Sorry for the inconvenience caused, sir.
Welcome, Ifioma madam. Please have your lecture, please.
Nigeria में माता, पाकिस्तान में माता. తెలుగు వైజాగ్.
Madam, are you there? Are you here? Here in the platform? Ifoma madam, hello. Hello, Dinesh sir. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Madam has already joined with us,
No, ma'am. Actually, the lecture was of ma'am Alina Shahzad from Pakistan.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And there are just some technical problem regarding the connection, and she is trying to join, sir.
No issue, sir. No issue. But meantime, Ifoma madam can go for give her
No. Ifoma ma'am is there in the meeting. I know.
Yeah, I can hear you.
She is audible. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. It's up to you.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, the member of Welta Foundation just want to know about your experiences when you delivered a lecture and to be part of this Welta Forum, ma'am. Yes, if you ma'am, I'm waiting for ma'am to join. If she can join, then I will present my paper.
Okay.
I'm just waiting because of some technical problem. She lost her connection, and yes, she's trying to get connected again.
Okay.
Only you wait for, you can say, 5 or 10 minutes. Otherwise, I will present.
Okay.
Hi guys, on the interest of everybody, I suggest that if you are ready, you can just start, brother.
I have a question to Madam from Nigeria, that is Ifioma Orinie, if she listens to me or hears to me.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. We are the great fans of your English writers from Nigeria. For example, Chinua Ashbey and Wale Soyinka. And so the problem is we read the Nigerian English textbooks, but we feel somehow difficult to pronounce your names. The names of your the English writers. Can you pronounce could I get a right pronunciation from your side, the name of the English writers of Nigeria? For example, is that Buki Emechita, Buchi?
Buchi. Buchi Emecheta.
Emecheta, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Emecheta. Yes.
Emecheta.
Yeah.
And what about Wolesoyinka?
Wole Shoyinka.
Shoyinka. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Shoyinka.
And I have a few more. One of them, give me a minute.
Okay.
All right, yeah, that could be Femi Osofizan.
Yeah, Femi Osofisan.
Osofizan. All right.
Yeah.
And Ben Okri, OKRI.
Ben Okri. Yeah. You're
Okay,
right.
thank
Ben
you.
Okri.
And
Yeah.
Sefiata, SEFI.
Sefiaka. Everything.
All right, thank you.
Everything good with time, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Game Sinagogi.
Yeah, and what about Helon Habila?
Okay. Hebnon Habila. You're right. Your pronunciation is okay. Yeah.
All right. You have any other renowned Nigerian English writers over there? Do you recommend to us?
There are many few writers, and there are many of them. I also wrote two novels.
Mm-hmm.
They are story novels, like Pen in the Neck. Yeah, it has social settings like China and Nigeria. Settings. Yeah.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
also wrote Pen in the Neck. I wrote that one, and then the second one is African China. Yeah.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
there is heavy rain in Islamabad, and because of that, ma'am has lost her connection, and she is trying to get back to the meeting.
I suggest somebody can just, start engaging with the people because respecting others' time. I suggest.
Yes, ma'am.
It would be
Good evening, ma'am.
good if you begin your session.
Yeah, I'm just going on, ma'am. Just give me 2 or 3 minutes.
Yes. That would be good. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Hi everyone. Can we just open a conversation to make this
Hello, ma'am. I'm going to start. I'm going to start my lecture. I'm going to
okay?
start.
Okay.
So, good evening, all present in the meeting. And as the topic of my presentation is two of the important attributes, tolerance, sacrifice, that we come across in the partition fiction. And as we know that Indian partition fiction, it was on the one hand, it is a record of bestiality and savagery on the one hand, and assessed to the fact that man is essentially sincere, committed to upholding humanity to survive and sustain itself. If we go carefully, the partition novels written, you can say, that we come across, a careful study and incisive study, minute study of this fiction shows that these two I can say these two attributes, tolerance and sacrifice, can be witnessed. And as we know that there are many, you can say these two attributes, the essential of the Indianness. It is the hypothesis of this, you can say, the discussion that I am going to in this session, and the tolerance and sacrifice in Indian partition fiction in English, and you can say also, you can say, in English translation we find, you can say, these two attributes. Tolerance and sacrifice are the essential foundation of Indian culture and civilization, and Hindu religion from the immemorial inspire men and women to follow the principle of tolerance and sacrifice. So if we believe in, you can say, divine in all living organism is an important creed of the Vedantic, you can say, philosophy. Soul that is indestructible is, you can say, Brahma, and the soul, it cannot be killed, and it is the body that is you can say that comes to an end after the death, but not the soul. So, in his, you can say, writings, Swami Vivekananda also once said that one who serves creatures serve the divine, and every Hindu every Hindu knows the divine exists, you can say, everywhere. The divine is omnipresent, omnipotent, as well as omniscient. So this conviction that is instinctively connected with the Vedanta philosophy makes Indian tolerant to all. Everything animate or inanimate in this world is, you can say, sacred, and this is an Indian attitude towards life. What the Indian, they think about, you can say, life. So a fundamentalist belonging to any religion underline a harassing belief that everything is divided into two often very different or opposing parts, and these two opposing parts are, you can say, as we know that in every human being these two traits can be witnessed, can be felt, good and evil, or man or nature, God or devil, and so on. So this belief in duality, it invents, you can say, friends as well as foes. So in this belief of duality, the principle of non-violence is absolutely redundant. So this belief is a blasphemy to Indian, you can say, religion, culture, as well as civilization. And if we go through G.H. Buller's translation of the laws of Manu or Manu Samhita, then we come across in that book in chapter number 11, I quote, learn that sacred law which is followed by men learned in the Vedas and assented to their hearts by virtues, and who are ever exempted from hatred to inordinate affection. So the virtuous, according to Vedas, there are, you can say, those who are free from hatred and inordinate affection, where there is tolerance, where and there must be aggression, and the absence of the belief in duality in the Vedanta philosophy, resulting in non-existing of violence, is one of the facets of the Indianness. And if we anticipate the demand of the modern period also, then we will find that Vivekananda made his illustrious remark at the first World's Parliament of Religion, which was held in Chicago. That was, you can say, in 1893. And in that lecture, he has also, you can say, described all these things. And I can quote you can say, what he said in that, you can say, conference. I quote, sectarianism, bigotry, and its horrible decadent fanaticism have long possessed this beautiful earth. They have filled the earth with violence, drenched it often and often with the human blood, destroyed civilization, and sent whole nation to despair. Had it not been for these horrible demons, human society would be far more advanced than it is now. Unquote. Swami Vivekananda was the champion of Vedanta creed, Vedanta philosophy, and he also did not advocate violence and violence in, you can say, the life of human beings. And according to him, this violence destroys the mankind ultimately. Mahatma Gandhi said in the speech in, you can say, in 1926, I quote, there is nothing on the earth I would not give up for the sake of the country, accepting the course two things, that two only, namely truth and ahimsa. Because Gandhiji had a strong belief in non-violence and truth, and the Indians, are very much familiar with his philosophy of these two important, can say, the elements that he preached in his, you can say, philosophy throughout his life. And he further says, I would not sacrifice these two for the entire world. For to me, truth is good, and there is no way to find truth except by the way of non-violence. I don't seek to serve India at the sacrifice of truth or God, for I know that a man who forsakes truth can forsake his country and his nearest and dearest ones. I unquote. Gandhiji attended a meeting of the, you can say, Gandhi Sevak Sangh in 1936 as well, and in the assembly he told that he had nothing new to say, and according to him, truth and the principle of non-violence are as aged as the hill and the mountains are. And he further reiterated that in his pursuit of truth, he had discovered the principle of non-violence. Both Vivekananda and Gandhiji were the votaries of non-violence, which is one of the traditional values of Indian life. So, the pedigree of non-violence can be seen in the Vedas also, Upanishads also, Dharma Shastra, Yoga Sutra, as well as some holy books, scriptures of Hinduism. And we have also, you can say, in the Vedas, we find the description of, can say, this, can say, element of non-violence, tolerance and sacrifice, which stand on the principle of non-violence, because these two attributes have, you can say, close connection with non-violence. So it is also, you can say, the core of the Indianness. If we go through the life of great, you can say, Emperor Ashok of the ancient India, then it shows that he got victory at Kalinga battle, and he became an enthusiastic activist of the principle of non-violence, which is, you can say, embedded in the vision of Indian life. Because when he saw the violence in that war, after, you can say, going through that, you can say, violence and death of number of people, he turned towards non-violence. And you can say, in this connection, a reference to the aggression on India by Muslim coming from the Central Asia is also very can be noted. And the Mughal warriors who conquered the northern India by the large consolidated their administration here, and with the passage of time they became totally Indians. They were unlike the Western colonizer in India. The Mughal rule in India is not the colonial rule like that of the British or the French in India. But Tagore, as we find in one of his poems, he says that I quote, Shak hu dal pathan Mughal ek daiye hello lean. So here he says that both Pathan and Mughal are absorbed in, you can say, the one body of Indianness. So the Mughals were the conqueror in India earlier. Later, they become an integral part of the Indian culture and civilization. For Tagore, we know that India before the British rule was a melting pot. In Indian partition fiction, not only the Hindus, Sikh, but also Muslims show the age-old voices of India by exercising tolerance and sacrifice amidst the frightening madness and barbarity during the communal violence in 1947. Because we have Sikh novelist Kartar Singh Duggal and Khushwant Singh, we have also some Hindu novelist and also some Muslim novelists who portrayed this we can say political upheaval in the history of India very minutely and very you can say with you can say very keenly we should say. And after going you can say their works we can find that there is the partition fiction in English and English translation on the one hand, it records man's bestiality and savagery on the one of the other, and the vast volume of it underline that man is essentially sincere, committed to upholding humanity to survive and sustain itself. But in partition fiction, some character indeed stand for universal goodness, which the Indian tradition underlines. And we in this you can say lecture I will focus on some of the fundamental goodness of some characters in the partition fiction and some English translation as well if there is time. So two community living together in peace and harmony for centuries started killing each other in communal pride, prejudice and hatred. The Holocaust of partition was in a way more horrifying than the exterminations of European Jews by the Nazis. So the vast volume of partition fiction in English and the English translation is a faithful record of how human disaster has taken place during the gruesome period of Indian partition in 1947, and at the same time it also focuses on the trump of the basic human values of some characters. Frenzy of insanity is not final. Amidst this pall of darkness and threat of insanity, there is a ray of hope. Not all are insane. This is undoubtedly a shift of paradigm in the vast volume of the partition fiction. If you go through Chaman Nahal, one of the important novelists who wrote, whose novel Azadi is a, you can say, powerful record of this political upheaval, historical upheaval we should say, because it has become a history now, the partition of India. And his novel Azadi is that it is a wide-ranging in presenting the multifarious views of the life through different characters and situations. The novel is epic-like in presenting the character like Lala Kanshiram, who is an ardent follower of Gandhiji's principle of non-violence. Lala Kanshiram, the protagonist of the book, is a grain merchant in Sialkot, that is situated now in Pakistan. And the time in the novel is 1947, as the partition took place during that period. And just on the eve of the Indian freedom, when the migration of people from both the sides of this country starts taking place, Hindu families were brought to a newly set up refugee camp for security reason and are also guarded by the military. So Kanshiram in the novel comes to know that Muslims have killed his only daughter, Madhu. And after a couple of days in the camp, all Hindus start leaving Sialkot for the Indian side. News of killing of Muslim by Hindus on the other side of the Pakistan border, it spread like killing of, you can say, Muslim by Hindu, it spread like wildfire, and it also disturbs the communal relationship. When this traumatized foot convoy reaches the Indian side, they all are thunderstruck and they find that in spite of all these ghastly experiences in their horrible journey from Sialkot to the other side of the border, Kanshiram emerges as one who transcends himself from the level of an individual to a universal man. So the experience of his life enable him to see life with a compassionate and humane understanding, and thus help him attain a cosmic vision of life. And if we go through the conversation between two characters, Prabharani and her husband Kashiram, Lala Kashiram, it reveals that we find an epic-like, you can say, quality in the character of Lala Kashiram. So we find in their, you can say, conversation, I quote, "We are all equally guilty," he said, spacing his word apart. Each of those girls in that procession at Amritsar was someone Madhu, and there must have been many among us the dead you saw at Ambala. Without knowing it, Prabharani was weeping softly. She called, "Madhu, Madhu, Madhu," and she repeatedly shook her head, for she did not agree with her husband. Forgive. That way alone you can make peace with yourself. She shook her hand and in a slow motion and continued to weep. And there is no other way, he said, as a last resort. Yes, but I don't believe in it. So it is, you can say, said by the wife of Lala Kashiram. And what he says, you have to, you forgive fully. And I unquote. So the nobility and the strength of character that we find in Kashiram, in his mind, it makes him, can say, it raises him to the level of an epical character. And in one sense, he represents human understanding, tolerance, wisdom, which are synonym of Indianness. He is steady, strong, and undaunted even in the worst moment of his life. And we find that Lala Kashiram is one of the, you can say, dominant, that this theme of partition, it is one of the recurrent themes of Chaman Nahal novel Azadi. So we have, you can say, in the same novel we have the character of Barkat Ali, and we find that the son Barkat Ali and, you can say, his son Munir, in the same novel we have that the